So, a couple days ago, an article dropped regarding the status of Red versus Blue, since everything went absolute radio silent on anything related to RVB late 2021. I'd like to shout out Hero Gameplays for giving me the source to the articles. Go check out some of his stuff. He makes great content, so go show your love and support to a fellow content creator. The post covers a lot of retrospective on the last 2 years, as well as incredibly promising news for the future of Red vs. Blue. I'll link the article in the description if you want to go read it yourself, but nevertheless, let's get into it. The article was posted on Rooster Teeth's community page on the 30th of March by Sean Hinz, who is the co-head of animation at Rooster Teeth. He's worked on a plethora of things such as Ruby, Death Battle, Neon Kabini, I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right, Animated Adventures, Camp Cam, and Red vs. Blue. There are 7 segments to break down, so I'll read a segment and break it down before moving on to the other ones. The first segment starts off as follows. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy almost anniversary. Hard to believe it, but already 6 months have gone by since our last update on the roadmap for Red vs. Blue, and a lot has happened since then. In that time span, we released all 11 episodes of Family Shadows, completed the run of the first 17 seasons, began to lay the groundwork for the larger RVB universe. Along the way, we've been working to better understand the bond we have with our audience. This letter is to attempt to clarify the last 2 years of production and introduce the roadmap for the next 2 years. So let's clear the air and start off with Red vs. Blue Zero. Zero was an incredibly ambitious production, pushing the furthest away from machinima look since season 14, while also building a show and an experimental pipeline. With the Shizno trilogy receiving mixed reviews, we saw an opportunity to do something different, create something RVB adjacent. That on the surface would feature similar tenets of the brand like iconic Halo armor, found family dynamics, and nods to previous seasons, then wrap it up in a new aesthetic with comedic elements and big action set pieces. We knew it would be difficult, and then surprise, we were also suddenly navigated into a pandemic. Regardless, we absolutely tried to make the best of the challenging set of circumstances, and I know for a fact that the team put their whole hearts into the season. So it says here that RVB has been laying the groundwork for the larger RVB universe. What this entails, I'm not entirely sure, but my best guess would be the obvious future seasons and miniseries like Recovery 1 and Out of Mind. I'd also believe that there could possibly be spin offs, maybe following Smith, Bitters, Palomo, and Jensen on Chorus getting up to stuff. I'm not too sure what they could do in terms of spin offs, but I mean, there's a whole lot of room for ideas. I'm not too sure what the team could do in terms of prequels. Red vs. Blue's timeline's pretty well covered since half of season 9 and 10 were dedicated to filling in those time periods, but hey, I could always be wrong. So, onto the retrospective. Sean says this letter is an attempt to add clarity to the last 2 years of production and introduce a roadmap for the next 2 years. He then moves on into Red vs. Blue Zero, which is the real meat of these first 2 segments. Sean states that Red vs. Blue Zero was quite ambitious to make, pushing limits to what Season 14 did since that was semi to non canon uncanny shorts. Like, there was a whole lot of interesting things they did with Season 14, like a rap and death battle, comedy shorts, stop motion, 2D, and live action. He then goes on to say that Red vs. Blue Zero was a part of an experimental pipeline in correlation to Season 14, but that also in a way contradicts what he said in late 2021's update about Red vs. Blue, saying it was easier to make remotely, but I guess you could view it as one or the other. Sean brings up mixed reviews with the Shizno trilogy, which was season 15 to 17. Personally, I believe that season 15 was pretty good as a standalone season, but not without its flaws, as being a little anticlimactic, cringy writing at times, and having retconned a lot of what of the previous seasons built up. Season 16 was an absolute dumpster fire and isn't even worth mentioning. The only good things I can say about it was the Wash and Carolina moments, Wash lashing out at everyone, and the Donut versus Dog fight. Season 17 was actually surprisingly good, tying up everything in a nice, neat, interesting climactic blow, leaving us with an open ended story for the future to go literally anywhere. But back on track. We saw an opportunity to do something different, create something RVB adjacent. That on the surface would feature similar tenets of the brand, like iconic Halo armor, found family dynamics, and nods to previous seasons, which this was the unfortunate basis Zero was built upon, since it's literally every generic action story in existence. Sean continues by stating the plan was to wrap up the story in, I'm guessing, 2 to 3 seasons in a comedic and climactic knot. And something quite memorable could have come from this if they spent more time on the script, since it was incredibly rushed, but instead the showrunner, being Torian, left and attacked the fanbase for not liking his rushed and terrible script, and he got put in his place by literally everybody. But I can respect the effort they put into it because clearly a lot of time was spent making Red vs. Blue Zero, especially during a mass pandemic. But nevertheless, it failed. Big time. There's not much to discuss with the third segment. It mainly goes over the passion behind the storytelling and opportunities for newer people to enter the frame. And overall, it's a nice touch since lots of people have stepped down or stepped away from Red vs. Blue's production. Bernie Burns leaving Rooster Teeth to spend more time with his family. Miles literally left to Rooster Teeth late 2020, and not to mention Joel Heyman getting fired. We later found out he was saying some pretty controversial and disgusting things online, so it's safe to say that this little part bring a little light to the dark decline Rooster Teeth has been on the past couple years. Now, segment 4 is where things get very, and I mean very juicy. Sean states, it's important to note up front that we will not be immediately going into production on a full season. Red vs. Blue will continue, but we need some time to reimagine the future of the show, for a number of reasons, and I will stop there for the moment. First thing I'd like to bring up is that they're not going forward with a full season, implying a 19 episode season, which Red vs. Blue has usually had in the past. But in saying that, is that there's obvious plans to restabilize Red vs. Blue from the dark pits of a pathetic 8 episode short season that was RVB Zero. But in saying that, that means that season 19 might possibly be a shorter season, and no, I'm not talking about 6 or 8, I'm talking between 10 to 15, since that's a season for modern television. I'm unfortunately huge on numbers as season length, episode length, and how many there will be overall, but it's good to theorize specifics. But on to the better news everyone is gonna be happy about. No more Zero, no more Shadow Squad. Sean confirms that they'll be moving on from godforsaken Zero storyline and on to something brand new. Now, to anyone at Rooster Teeth watching this, don't fuck it up. This is your one shot to redeem yourselves and come back from 5 years of mediocre storytelling, and I'm incredibly optimistic for a number of reasons. You're being transparent and laying everything out. This is what we're gonna do, and that's how you maintain a rather colossal community. Take notes, 343. Segment 5 covers things that they want to do for the next 3 months. First notable thing is that they'll be uploading season complete videos of miniseries starting with Out of Mind, then Recovery 1, MIA, and Relocated to likely follow shortly after. Second thing is that Rooster Teeth is pretty much gonna do a wacky TLDR of the Halo TV series. I don't really care about it all that much, but they did release episode 1 to three's TLDR on the Rooster Teeth animation page this morning. Second to last segment, this is where the roadmap comes into play. To start off with, they've got plans to land within the slot of 18 months, which is a long time and will definitely surpass the 20-year anniversary indefinitely, which is sad. But Sean says that there will be weekly content, some of it live action and some of it machinimated, all in the spirit of Red vs. Blue. I'll get to the other bit in a second, but I may or may not be jumping to conclusions, but this honestly sounds like another anthology season like a season 14. Or I could be completely wrong and it's just a high RVB fever term at Rooster Teeth where RVB lands focus instead of tiny things nobody watches. So, going back on the short term Halo Infinite style to reveal later this year, so we've already seen glimpses of this before. If you follow Erotic Toaster on Twitter, he's been stalking the Red vs. Blue accounts and they've been on Halo Infinite. Poor bastards had to dump loads of money and grind the shit out of the Battle Pass just to get to Mark 6, or they just dump loads of money into the battle pass instead of grinding it out, which is probably worse. But I think these will be just some sort of like specials or PSAs. I think they're just waiting for Forge to come out so they can recreate Blood Gulch like the PSAs we saw in 2019. Some more stuff Sean brings up related to the Fever. Later in the year, we'd like to tell a short story expanding on some legacy content plot threads that are hanging out there. So that probably means specials, miniseries, or could possibly lead to a spin off. But the rest of the segment is just Sean talking about the ways that he and the RVB team wants to support Microsoft and engage with the community. And Sean also says, finally, we're planning to create nostalgic content leading up to the 20th anniversary of the show 1 year from now, which is crazy to imagine. 20 years of RVB. which leaves a lot of things to ponder about what this could entail, but I am very excited nonetheless. Final segment has Sean's love poured all into it, and it's great to see someone with a genuine passion at the helm of RVB. If you've made it all the way to the end of this letter, thank you for supporting us, and someone who has enjoyed Red vs. Blue long before they began working in entertainment, it is an honor to have the opportunity to contribute to the RVB universe. I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments about this roadmap and use hashtag RVB on social media to have your voice heard. If you want to support RVB directly, watch the new and existing content, share it with friends and family, and buy our merch. All these things contribute to ensuring that Red vs. Blue remains a living and breathing part of the Z guys. I don't know how to pronounce that. I look forward to supporting the ongoing legacy of Red vs. Blue for years to come, and I hope you find joy in what we create together. If you'd like to hear more about this in greater detail, plan on joining the RT podcast on for the episode on April 11th, and hope you will join me. Thank you so much for your time. Happy 19 years to the Red vs. Blue community. Sean Hinz. A really heartfelt letter done by Sean Hinz. Thank you so much for giving us a rather large portion of hopium from this, because the future wasn't only uncertain but was looking quite grim. On April 11th, Sean is doing a RT podcast going into further detail explaining the plans for Red vs. Blue. And you all know I'm going to tune into that and give it a full breakdown, and maybe some of my predictions might be correct. Now that leaves the video on a close. It looks like Rooster Teeth are finally getting their shit together, and it's amazing to see that they're really passionate people behind it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing for more videos like this. Drop a like and dropping a comment about your theories, since I love engaging with my followers. Join the Discord and more updates on videos and machinima. Until next time.